Hey everyone, Luke here. Now before I get into the review, I just want to make a few quick announcements. First of all is that tonight I'm going to be auditioning for a pantomime, so hopefully that'll go well for me. It's Alice in Wonderland, which I'm really excited about. That doesn't mean that the reviews won't still come out, they'll still come out. But I'll just be concentrating more of my time on that rather than everything else, because I really want to get a part in this pantomime. I've been really looking forward to it, and also as well because we're coming up to the Christmas period. I work in retail as well. So we're coming out to the Christmas period, so I don't know when the reviews will be coming out, but they will come out. It just might be all over the place in the coming weeks based on when I'm working. So it might, a few might come out on Wednesday, or it might come out on any other day of the week. So we don't know about that. That's all I wanted to say, guys. And yeah, I'm really excited about this chapter. I've read it a few times, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it. So let's get to it. Hey everyone, Luke here. Welcome to the Promised Neverland chapter 108, titled "We Won't Let You Go." Obviously a reference to Lucas and Yuugo and their fight against Andrew, which is still going on. This is what this whole chapter is. It's just the straight up fight between Andrew versus Lucas and Yuugo, and it's really exciting to find out who wins, who loses, and just all that to get into with this review. Now, something I want to clarify as well is in regards to my perception on the series is that I love the series. I find very few faults with it, but of course there are other people that don't. Perfect example of this is the YouTube channel called Control Chaos. They obviously have a lot more criticism of the series, how they feel like it's gone downhill since the Goldie Pond arc. And yes, while I admit the Goldie Pond arc was could very well be the best arc in the series, I personally disagree with that. I found that there's more interesting elements that are being presented in other arcs, like with the not the Goldie Pond arc, the Gracefield House arc. Sorry about that. I apologise to you guys. It's just where I find the Goldie Pond arc much more fascinating, just because we find out a lot more information about who William Minerva is, what's actually going on with the world, who's actually in control, or so we assume who's actually in control, and also we get the fight with Lewis, and actually Lewis himself and Lucas as well, and how those two characters really come into their own. And this all culminates, particularly in this chapter, with Lucas and how he's really shaped to be a character. And a lot of people find that Lucas and Yuugo, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people find them, like Lucas and Yuugo, like these bland, dull characters. I'm sorry, I cannot agree with that. Like, look at Lucas, gone through complete hell, lost all his friends and his family, and yet still found a way to fight back against demons and win, essentially, and has continued winning for 2 years. And look at Yuugo, abandoned Lucas and thinking that he left him to die, becoming this bitter grumpy adult. But as he slowly interacted with Emma and the others, he began to warm up to them and began to see that that there's other possibilities out there, and there are people that can actually change the world and they can make a difference. I'm sorry, I just cannot believe it when people call them dull and uninteresting characters, when they've actually proven just how interesting they are and just how fascinating they are, and how much of change they've actually gone through. Yuugo in particular. But going back to Control Chaos, I understand where they're coming from. Like, they can't be as enthusiastic because they feel like the writer can't make interesting fight scenes. And yes, the fight scenes, they aren't the most amazing, elaborate in the world, but in terms of like a series like this that focuses more on brains rather than brawn, and just the various tactics that they use in certain fights, particularly in the fight with Lewis, I'm always going to use that fight as an example of how you can do a fight scene in a series like this that's more tactically based, and still make it as exciting as it could possibly be. And I've really got to commend the creators for that, how even though they have very limits in terms of what the characters can actually do, what they've used has been really interesting, at least to me personally. And I know I'm speaking from complete bias here, but I'm not saying that I'm really all that biased. Like, I'm not stuck in my head. Like, I can't see when there's actual bullshit that actually happens in the series. Like, I still stand by when Ray tried to blow himself up, and it just cuts to Emma going, Ray, and you see just the explosion. Then next chapter we see Ray. Is that is a bullshit moment, and I'm still gonna say that that's the most bullshit moment that this series has ever done. And speaking as a fan of the series, I'm calling that as a bullshit moment to show that even I agree that there are some elements that I just don't agree with. And if they were gonna kill someone, personally, if I was gonna be in that situation, I would have had it. I wouldn't have had the panel at the end of the chapter where it's like Ray, where it's like Ray's preparing to, where it's like it just shows the explosion. I would have had it where Ray has the match lit and it lands there on the cliffhanger. I would have had it like that, because then that way you would have still gotten the impact, but it wouldn't have diminished by saying, "Oh no, Ray said, oh no, he isn't." Emma just pulled out the light. So yeah, that's a bullshit moment, and I agree with it. But I'm sorry. But in terms of the overall scale of the series, I feel like the good outweighs the bad in many ways. But I respect their opinions, controlled chaos, and I honestly do like their videos, because they're able to point out the stuff that I just cannot do. Like with Anna, like. Even I agree. Like, okay, I will admit, Anna being one of the more popular characters, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. You could have easily put Violet in Anna's position because she's done way more stuff than Anna has done in this series. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say about them. So yeah, let's get into the actual chapter itself. So it opens up quite interesting with the actual title page, as opposed to having a few panels or a few pages beforehand before we get into it. And it shows a lot of hands around a tea set, and we have the phrases that say, "What's left in his heart, modest little gathering," which could be a reference to actually Yuugo, like what's left in his heart at this moment in time is what's keeping him going, or something like that. But yeah, very interesting that we get that, as opposed to actually getting panels beforehand, and then getting the title page before going into the chapter itself. But yeah, I really like that, how it like played with my expectations, because I've gotten so used to that. But yeah, it's quite interesting that we got that right off the bat. Oh, and something else I want to say is that it's saying on my computer right now that the Promised Neverland anime teaser release. Now, I don't know if this is the teaser that was shown a while back, or it's a brand new teaser. I don't know. But if it is a brand new teaser, I will watch it and then I'll comment it on in the next video that I do. That's all I wanted to say about that point. And if it isn't brand new teaser, that'll get me even more excited. All right, so moving on to the chapter properly, continuing on with the fight with Lucas, we see Yuugo just shooting his machine gun at Andrew as he calls for Lucas to actually retreat. And we see Andrew from behind a corner taking cover and thinking, those male cattle children, their skills with the guns and weapons, those two aren't kids. How old are they? Not from Gracefield or Goldie Pond. Could it be? Are there still escapees from 15 years ago at Glory Bell that remain alive? Now with this, it's quite actually interesting because we see all the actual kids from Glory Bell, obviously the plantation that Lucas and Yuugo came from, and we see like all these kids, and that's got me thinking. Literally right now, like that's just got me thinking, like, what if there are others out there, still out there, from Glory Bell that are still alive and actually escaped as well, that Lucas and Yuugo didn't know about. So that's an interesting food for thought, that the Gracefield lot and the Grace Valley lot and the Glory Bell lot might not actually be the only ones out there that are still alive in the demon world, and they're still looking for a way to get into human world. That's actually an interesting food for thought that I don't think a lot of people actually thought like. That could be others that escaped even before Lucas and Yuugo. Like there could have been people that actually escaped at that point, which if that's the case, that would be really fascinating to find out if that's actually true. Continuing on, Andrew continues to say that, so their extermination wasn't complete, but with this I get it, as we see Lucas and Yuugo go behind one of the bookshelves and actually try to close it. And Andrew continues to say, just two of them. It took two of them to try and open the hatch. Moreover, one of them has one arm and is dragging their leg. these are the 5 people that did, these are the people that did in 5 for our men. Yes, it was, Andrew, and you really need to be aware of the situation at hand, because if these 2 people, one of them that has lost an arm and is limping as well, which that just shows Lucas's willpower, how even though he's limping, he has a limp and he's lost an arm, he's still fighting on to try and give Emma and the others a chance to escape, and it's just his determination that's just really fascinates me, and really says a lot about his character more than words. How, yes, I am injured, but I'm still going to fight on as long as I'm still breathing. And this is something that Andrew really needs to be prepared for, otherwise it could lead to his downfall. That's if it doesn't lead to his downfall at the end of the chapter. Andrew continues on to say that, but now I have the hand you're going to play. Your surprise attacks won't work anymore. I'm going to catch up to you. And he calls out to his 2 men, the 2 other men that he has with him, because there's 3 men, like 5 of them were killed, so there's 3 men. There's Andrew and there's this Collins and Barclay. And they say Roger. And I'm sure these 2 are going to be very important characters coming up. There's no way they're going to die. Okay, yeah, I'm just being sarcastic here, because, yeah, these guys are obviously because Andrew is the main antagonist of this particular point in the story. So they're obviously they're going to get killed. There's no question about that, but it's interesting to find out exactly how they are going to be killed. As Collins and Barclay block off Yuugo and Lucas trying to escape, Yuugo says, we're surrounded, but that doesn't stop him as he pulls out a smaller gun, a handgun, and a machine gun, and just keeps rushing at them. This is awesome, guys! Like, seriously, this is awesome. You got this guy who's just like, you got these 2 guys, one of them who's just recently come out of his of being a hardcore bastard, and it's just like, no, I am going to survive, and I am trying to survive here. I'm trying to get out of here. I'm trying to give a way for these kids to actually escape, and I'm going to do this whatever means. So shotgun, handgun and machine gun, and I'm going to come after you. And Lucas, again, only has 1 arm, and yet he's still fighting with that machine gun. That is incredible. Anyway, continuing on, we see Yuugo, that despite being determined, actually trips over, and then we see a blast of machine gun bullets. But then we see Andrew actually being quite smart as well, using a hand grenade which just shocks Lucas, and he goes to block Yuugo as the cave just sort of crashes down on them. This is just too much, guys. Again, like I said at the beginning, this is what I mean by, even though the creators have very limited in terms of what they can actually do with the fights, what they're actually using is working to their advantage and still making it as exciting and engaging for us as a viewer to actually get invested in them. And the fact that we spent so much time on Lucas and Yuugo and gotten to know them and gotten to know their backstory and what they're like and how they're so similar to Ray and Emma. Oh, and that's another thing as well. Yeah, looking back on it, looking back on my last video where I said about the Ray and Emma relationship, yeah, I think that, yeah, now that I think about it and having to read some comments on my video that people sent, yeah, I feel like I don't see the creators going down that road anymore. It took me a while to think about that, but I'm glad that people point that out to me, and now I really think that they should just be strong siblings that look out for each other, Emma and Ray. But yeah, this situation just shows just how similar that Yuugo and Lucas are to Emma and Ray, because they're protecting each other and they're looking out for each other in the same way that Emma and Ray would look out for each other. And I really find this really interesting and really amazing, how this can actually happen, even in tight situations where it looks like they're going to die. The fact that they're fighting for each other and still pressing on really shows the determination of these characters. So as one of the guys approaches Yuugo after he's been crushed by the rubble, with Lucas protecting him, we see blood splattered everywhere, which could be coming from Lucas's limb, how he has his limb on his arm, and it could just be blood that's just gouged open from the limb from the rubble that's collapsed from the hand grenade. And we see Andrew actually being clever here, actually not underestimating like he has done before in the past with the cattle children and Lucas and Yuugo in particular, how he's underestimated them and he didn't think that it was possible for them to actually fight back. So he's actually being cautious at this point and saying, don't drop your guard, first of all, keep your distance and shoot the head. And I'm glad that, again, somebody is actually being spied off to actually aim for the head. Even though I don't want Lucas and Yuugo to actually die, even though it's very clear from where this chapter actually goes to what's being set up and how their character story is officially over, and it's up for Emma and Ray to continue on continue on the work that they've started, how they can actually break the promise. Even though I don't want them to die, it feels like they are going to die. But I'm really glad that somebody's like just being like, aim for the head, don't aim for anywhere else, aim for the head. And so the guy confirms that, Roger that, before we see Yuugo just bring the machine gun out, just shoot the guy in the face. And it's like, oh my god, that is just so gory, but so awesome at the same time, that he's been crushed by rubble, but no, he's not out of the fight, and he's able to get one guy and just kill him there and then. I know this is getting heated, but yeah, like I said, this is just exciting for me. I mean, there's not a lot of it in terms of like expositionary or stuff that you can actually analyse, like in the previous chapters that have been in the final arc, but just in terms of sheer awesomeness of this chapter, I feel like that's just enough for me to actually just get my blood boiling and be like, oh yes! And to show just how much of a bastard Andrew is, as soon as that one guy is killed, rather than thinking about him, he's just like, whatever, and just continues on with the other guy pursuing Lucas and Yuugo, which just again speaks more about just how cold and how much of a bastard Andrew actually is, in the sense that he will sacrifice his own men if it means completing the mission and continuing his own goal of preserving the promise along with Peter. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as he gets the mission done. He doesn't care who dies at this point, and I feel like that's what's motivating him. I feel like that's ultimately going to lead to a downfall, in the sense that he's not thinking about anybody, he's just thinking about himself, which in this series is what you need to do. You need to be thinking about others, because the stronger team you have, the more chance you have of surviving, the more likely you have to make a difference in the world. And this has been proven time and time again with how well the teams have actually fought together as teams to overcome various difficult odds. Like with Lewis, it took a team of 7 to take him down, whereas if it was just Emma on her own, she would have been wrecked right away. Like I said, Emma could not fight that fight on her own, and she needed everybody's help, and everybody contributed in some way. They worked together as a team, and they were able to bring Lewis down, or so we think. So as Yuugo runs out of ammo in his handgun, we see him throw it away, and we see him saying to Lucas, who he's carrying on his shoulder, as repayment for what happened when he actually took the full brunt of the cave collapsing on them. He says, Lucas, stay with me. It'll be okay. That explosion wasn't as powerful as it looked just now. Those guys seem to escape being buried alive as well. If we keep it up, we can root out the rest of those guys and use the emergency exit with the 2 of us. So you should, before Lucas cuts him off and says, no, it's already useless for me. I think my insides are smashed up and I can't move my... please let me go. If you did that, it will be a difficult task. If you are alone, you can live on too. And we see like a really upset expression on Yugo's face to show that, this is basically what he did to Lucas, and now Lucas is doing the same to him, and like he does not want that after all they've been through over the past 2 years, actually reuniting together. He does not want that now. It's like if Lucas dies, he's gonna die as well, which you have to admit, you have to give Yuugo credit that he's very loyal. He's very loyal to the friends that he makes, and the best friend, like the brother figure that he has with Lucas, is like, if you die, I'm dying with you. We're going out together. We're not having this anymore. I'm not abandoning you anymore after like what I did before, because that ultimately scarred him for life, pretty much. Like for 13 years, it scarred him for life. Like he left Lucas and he didn't know what had happened with him, and it basically went him mad to the point that he didn't want relationships until he met Emma and Ray and the other kids, and he actually formed like not necessarily a bond with them, but sort of like a surrogate family, someone that he can actually talk to rather than just being all on his own all the time. And that's what I really love about his character, how much it's grown and changed, and how if it was like Yuugo at the beginning, I'm sure he probably would have when he first appeared, I'm sure he probably would have done this, but now he's a changed man, and it's very and it actually makes this chapter that much more poignant and much more sad in my regard. Oh, and also something else I want to say is that once this series gets the anime coming out, I guarantee that these scenes may impact a lot more when we actually have the voices and we have the music, we have the sound effects, we have it all coming together as one. I feel like it will generate a much more powerful scene. But these moments in particular, and like the fight with Lewis, I genuinely believe like they will be stronger if we actually see them as an anime rather than a manga, because I feel like these scenes are just yearning to be animated. That's what I wanted to say about this point at this point in time, and how I feel like once the anime comes out, I feel like it will just get even more popular then. But if the creators want to just continue to like 30 volumes and then end it there, I will respect that. Anyway, moving on, Yuugo basically says what I've just said about him, that don't be an idiot. So then I've left you again after running away that time over 13 years ago. Just how much I regretted doing that. That whole time I cursed my existence. Again, it shows just how much of a tragic figure he actually is. Like he grew up in a farm. He grew up in what he thought was an orphanage, and then he turns out it's a farm, and then they run away together. He loses like the person that he actually cared about. More so than I think Lucas did, and then he has to leave in order to save his own skin, but he can't bring Lucas along, and then he just goes mad and he regrets like not being there for Lucas when he needed him the most, probably. And now seeing this, like Lucas actually thinking the same thing, like he's if you wanna leave, go. I'm done here, I can't move anymore. Yugo's having none of that, and he continues on to say, the feeling of leaving you by yourself to die, the feeling of me alone living on, I hated it. Which again shows that he wasn't just a cold-hearted bat. He had a reason, and he had a reason for not forming relationships with Emma and the rest, because he didn't want to go through that whole pain of getting attached to someone. He didn't want the pain of having attachments to people, just so that the inevitable happens, like they get taken away from him. And again, that's what makes him such one of the more better written characters of the series, as opposed to many of the orphans. And I'll admit that most of the orphans in this series, they haven't had a lot of development, aside from the ones that have had the most screen time. But I feel like Yuugo is one of the more well-written orphans, in the sense of just what his character has been through and how much of a tragic figure he actually is. As we see flashbacks, we see snippets of Lucas and Yuugo's time together in the orphanage, and showing just how much of a brotherly bond they have. We see the younger face of Yuugo and the younger face of Lucas going, whether we live or die, we'll be together until the end. No one is ever going to be alone ever again, which again is an Emma line. That is something Emma would say, which again shows the neat parallel between Emma and Ray and Lucas and Yuugo that they have going here, which makes me wonder at the end of the series if Emma and Ray are gonna make some sort of sacrifice for the world themselves, in the same way that Lucas and Yuugo are doing here. Like Emma and Ray are gonna meet the same fate at the end of the series that Lucas and Yuugo will be doing. Which, if that's the case, even though it'll be sad that Emma and Ray die, I feel like it would make sense for the series itself, in the sense that anybody could go, and it's not all, and anybody's for the chopping block. And if they do that, if they have the balls to actually kill off Emma and Ray in the same manner that Lucas and Yuugo go down, I will respect them continuously for this, forever. The authors for actually having the balls to actually go through that. Oh, and something else as well, which I find is just absolutely inappropriate, is that when people look at this, they say, oh, that's so gay, that's lame, that's gay. They are essentially brothers. Lucas and Yuugo are brothers. And whoever's saying that is obviously a troll that really doesn't have any siblings, so they don't know, like, if you lose a sibling, even if you fight sometimes, most of the time you're there for each other and you stick by each other in the same way that Lucas and Yuugo are doing. And it's the same with me. Like, sometimes I argue with my brothers and sister, but most of the time we get along. And if they were actually killed in this manner, I'd be upset as well. So it's like it's not gay, it's just a bond that they have with each other. Like, have you anybody who says that, oh, that's gay, that's lame, that's gay, so gay, clearly is just a heartless bastard, man. Is not even considering having the time to be considered a human being. Because I could go up, because they probably say that and then go to their mother or dad and say, "Oh, I love you. Thanks for this. Thanks, I love you." And then we could actually say the same thing. But I'm not gonna say that because I actually have the decency to not say that about another person who has a bond with someone. And the same thing that I'm not gonna say that this is gay for Lucas and Yuugo, because it's not. It's just showing that they've been through so much and they're willing to die at this point together, if it means a chance that the kids that have escaped actually have a chance to change the world. Anyway, Yuugo goes on to say that there are only 2 enemies remaining, and Lucas confirms that no, it's actually Lucas that goes on to say there are only 2 enemies remaining, and Yuugo says yeah, and we see Lucas handing Yuugo the gun and just firing at random, but he's trying to get a shot off on Andrew and the other man, and Andrew is saying hit them head on, and then we see Lucas and Yuugo just continuing running, and we see Lucas, even though he's getting hit in the back with bullets, he still has the bulletproof vest on, but even though he's getting hit in the back with bullets, he's still having the energy to go on despite all of this, again showing the determined and willpower that these two actually have. And we see them going, one more, only a little more, keep going Lucas, until we can make it to that room, which obviously is the armory, which may in fact play into their plan at the end of the chapter, who knows. And then we see Andrew going, it's over, and then we see a sound effect, and we see blood spatter, we see a hand, and I think what happened is that because we see Yuugo in the back, Yuugo just lying on the ground, and we see just battered and beaten, and we see him calling over to Lucas and going, Lucas, oi Lucas, he's still alive. And we see from what I can see is that it actually just grazed his shoulder. I think that's what happened, like the bullet that Andrew got sort of grazed it here, and that's what caused him to go down but land right in the armory. Which is very important for what's actually about to happen at the end of the chapter. Continuing on, we see Andrew walking into the armory and just being amazed by everything, saying, "What a wonderful storehouse of weapons! Surely weapons totaling this number had to have been provided to you lot," which could have been provided by William Minerva. In fact, it's pretty obvious that it was provided by William Minerva or James Rafari when he actually defected from the Rafari clan. So it was obvious that this was actually provided by him as a way to fight back against the demons. But Andrew goes, "How very foolish of you! If you had just left this one behind, you would have possibly been able to make it to the weapons room and put up a struggle against us. But I guess you don't even have the strength to hold a gun anymore. What an absolutely ridiculous error in judgment." The only error you have, Andrew, is the error that you've had about the bonds that these children and these adults have actually made throughout these 2 years. And that's what I mean about Andrew just being a cold-hearted bastard, and how it's going to come back to him, because I think it's I'm not sure if they actually did get the other guy, but I feel like they did, or if they didn't, then he's still waiting in the background. But if they did get him, then it's just Andrew on his own, and it just shows that Andrew, despite everything, ignoring everyone, and ignoring the things that are going on around him, is still arrogant enough to just pursue the mission rather than be like, okay, we need to retreat and think of a new strategy. He's just being a smug bastard here, because again, he doesn't understand the bonds that have been formed between the children and Lucas and Yuugo over these past 2 years, and how they're willing to die for each other, and nobody is being left behind, as is very appropriate with this series. Like, nobody is being left behind, and if they are going to die, they're going to die together. And this just leads to Andrew's ultimate downfall, I feel, at the end of this chapter, or so we may think, because there's a lot of debate about the end of this chapter in regards to Andrew. As Andrew thinks he has the upper hand on them, we see Yuugo smiling and going, "The only fool here is you. Emma and the rest are going to change the world. Even if you kill us now, that's not going to change." And I agree. Anybody who's seen any shonen series know that despite all the odds, despite everything, despite the impossible situation, even in One Piece, despite that impossible situation that could be at times, the main character always comes out, always triumphs in the face of overwhelming odds. Even if some things may get sacrificed, like with Luffy witnessing the death of his brother by Ace getting a fire fist through his chest. Ace getting fisted through his chest. Like, despite all that, he's still pressing on with his dream, and we know he's going to be the Pirate King in the same way that we know that Emma and the kids are going to change the world. That's just guaranteed in that. And anybody who thinks otherwise is obviously an idiot and has not seen many shonen series to know that that's what's going to happen at the end of the series. Yuugo continues to say that no matter how much you look down on cattle, they will bring an end to that 1,000-year system of yours, the rotten rule too, just you watch. And I'm interested to actually see, like, if they'll actually do, like, like what they'll actually do, like when the world actually does change at the end of the series and we get the time skip to the future, which I guarantee is going to happen. I'll be interested to see what how they bring about it and like what changes they'll have in the world. Like what I'm hoping it something similar that I want to happen with the next Avengers movie. How I want to see what happened after Thanos' snap and the world all changed. I want to see what happened there, because I've heard that it's going to take place 5 years after Infinity War, the next Avengers movie, and I'm interested to see how the world's actually changed if that's the case. In the same way that I'm actually interested to see how the world's actually going to change in the Promised Neverland once the promise has actually been made. But of course, Andrew keeps on going by saying, "Keep on howling. After I'm going to hunt down. After you, I'm going to hunt down and kill the rest of them, and then that'll be the end of it." And Yuugo goes, "You think we'd let you do that, Lucas? Now!" And then we see, and oh no, wait, no, now I see. We see the other guy there. So no, they didn't actually get the guy. No, the guy is actually there. So we see, so it's Andrew and the other guy. But we see them lighting up some flammable gas, and we see Lucas pointing his gun, and we see you going, "We won't let you go," and we see both of them say, "You are all going to die here too," and we see the gas being ignited, and we see Andrew going, "Combustible gas," and we see Yuugo smiling and seeing Emma, Ray, everyone, "Do your best. Believe in the future. Goodbye." And then we see just this explosion, and that's where the chapter ends. So yeah, not a lot in terms of exposition, like with the last chapter where we had the flashback with Yuugo, although that's kind of a common cliche, particularly in Bleach. Like when characters have flashbacks, that's usually their death. That's usually the sign of their death. Like when we had the flashback with Nemu during the fight with Panida in Bleach, she died. Although it wasn't the same with Nanao and Lilia, so it could have gone either way. But anyway, that's besides the point. So yeah, not a lot in terms of exposition, but a really action-packed and solid chapter. Now, in terms of Andrew, because we don't actually see his body, because we don't actually see the bodies, that's got a lot of people debating, like, do they actually die at the end of this chapter? Because all we do is see the explosion. But with this case, I think it's pretty obvious that they're dying. If Andrew does die, it makes me wonder who's actually going to be the villain from now on. Maybe Peter. Maybe Peter will actually come. Yeah, Peter. Sorry, I thought it was James for a second, but no, it's Peter. Maybe he'll actually come out into the forefront and actually be the main actually, even though he is the main antagonist, he might actually take front and center stage from this point on if he finds out that Andrew is being killed, if Andrew actually is killed. But I feel like after this, Andrew is going to be killed, because I don't think there's too much more to his character now, because we know pretty much quite a bit about him, like what his personality is and how he views the children. Although there's still a lot that we do need to know about him. It might be played out in flashbacks if we get Peter as the main force front and center from this point on. But yeah, in terms of Lucas and Yuugo, I feel like this is their time. We know pretty much everything we need to know about them, where they came from, what their personality was, where they were before they actually where they were before Goldie Pond, what happened for all those intermediate times, the relationships that they formed, and now they've gone out fighting and being strong. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to say on this chapter. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as long as the last video was. It might be pretty long, but we're not sure yet. It'll have to be after I edit the review. But anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. And then this will be Lash and Luke signing off. And let me know if you feel like Andrew and Lucas and Yuugo and that other guy are all dead at this point, because I feel like if they aren't dead, I feel like the fan base and the haters of the series at the moment of where it is now, because a lot of people just praise the Gracefield House arc and then just think everything after that is crap, even though it's not. I don't agree with that. It's not all crap. It went in a different direction. It may be a direction that people didn't like, but it was a different direction. It kept the series from being fresh as opposed to being stale and just being like the same tactically based series over and over again. It's sort of like with Death Note. I mean, I personally like the second half of Death Note, even though is it as good as the first half? Probably not, but that doesn't mean it necessarily is bad. It's the same thing here. Gracefield House is in a lot of people's eyes the best arc, but personally I feel like the second half is just as good, in the same way that I feel like the second half of Death Note is just as good. Even though it doesn't have L in it, there's still a lot of really intense moments that happen in the second half of Death Note that just make it as interesting as the first half. Even though we don't have the big mind game, it's still very interesting, but I feel like people often think of that when they think of the second half of the Promised Neverland. But I still like it. I still really like it. I'm gonna keep going through it until the end and seeing where the series actually ends up. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to say, and I feel like if they really want to hammer in that characters do die in the series, they have to keep Andrew, Lucas, and Yuugo dead. That's it. I'm calling it now that all three of them and that other guy are dead. So yeah, this would be Lash and Luke signing off. Later, guys.